The silver lights of the laboratory reflected off Rin's scales as she stared at the data floating before her. Her six-fingered hands trembled slightly as she swiped through the classified files. This couldn't be right. She checked again, her large amber eyes narrowing with each new piece of information. No, she whispered to the empty lab. The bioweapon her team had been developing wasn't meant for defense as they'd been told. It targeted specific genetic markers found in humans and 3 other developing species. The weapon would kill billions while leaving advanced races like the Sylvani untouched. Rin downloaded the evidence to a secure data crystal and slipped it into the hidden pocket of her science robes. She needed to be careful. If what she suspected was true, the High Council itself was behind this. Outside, the twin moons of Sylvan Prime cast purple shadows across the research facility. Rin hurried down the corridor, her heart racing. She needed to find Da. If anyone would help her expose this atrocity, it would be him. Da was working late as usual, his tall frame hunched over a microscope. When Rin entered his private lab, he looked up with a smile that quickly faded when he saw her expression. "What's wrong?" he asked, moving to her side. "Everything," Rin said. She pulled out the data crystal. "The Purity Project isn't what they told us. It's genocide, Da. They're planning to wipe out humans and other races they consider primitive." Da's face showed no surprise, only a slight tightening around his eyes. "You shouldn't have accessed those files, Rin." Something in his voice made her step back. "You knew." "The Council believes it's necessary for our continued advancement," Da said. His voice was eerily calm. "These species will eventually compete with us for resources. Better to solve the problem now." Rin felt sick. These are living beings with their own cultures, their own dreams. How can you be part of this? "Progress requires sacrifice," Da said, reaching for her arm. "Give me the crystal, Rin. We can forget this happened." Rin pulled away. "I'm taking this to the Science Ethics Committee. They'll stop this." Da sighed. "I was afraid you'd say that." He pressed a button on his wrist communicator. "Security to Lab 7. Code Blue. What are you doing?" Rin backed toward the door, but it slid shut and locked with a hiss. "I'm sorry, Rin. I truly am. But this project is too important." The security team arrived within minutes. Rin fought, her claws extended, but they were too many. As they dragged her away, Da wouldn't meet her eyes. 3 days later, Rin stood before the High Council, her wrists bound in energy cuffs. The 9 council members looked down at her from their elevated platform, their faces cold masks of disapproval. "Scientist Rin, you stand accused of treason against the Sylvani people," said High Councilor Tai, her voice echoing in the Grand Chamber. "The real treason is what you're planning," Rin said, her voice steady despite her fear. "Billions of innocent lives." Silence. Tai's voice cracked like thunder. "You have accessed restricted files and threatened the security of our race. The penalty is death." From the shadows stepped Da. He looked thinner, paler, but his voice was strong. "High Councilor, if I may. Rin is misguided, but her scientific mind is valuable to our people. Perhaps there is an alternative to execution." Ta considered this. "What do you suggest, Chief Scientist?" "The mining outpost at the edge of our territory needs maintenance droids. We could repurpose her instead." Da didn't look at Rin as he spoke. "An implant to track her movements, removal of her rank and citizenship. Let her serve the Sylvani people in a different way." Rin stared at Da in disbelief. This wasn't mercy. It was a slower death. The mining outposts were dangerous, with minimal life support and frequent equipment failures. The council murmured among themselves before Tai spoke again. "Very well. Scientist Rin is hereby stripped of rank and citizenship. She will be implanted and transported to Mining Outpost 12. The guards took Rin away to a small medical facility where a cold-eyed doctor implanted a tracking device at the base of her skull. The pain was sharp and immediate, but nothing compared to the ache in her heart. Da had not only betrayed her cause, he had betrayed her love. 2 days later, after a journey in a cramped cargo hold, Rin was pushed onto the abandoned mining platform. It floated in the emptiness of space, far from any inhabited world. The guards chained her to a support beam in what had once been the command center. Equipment blinked weakly around her, running on emergency power. "The air scrubbers will last about 7 days, one guard said as he locked the restraints. "The council feels that's generous." When they left, Rin pulled against the chains, but they held firm. Through the viewing port, she watched their transport ship grow smaller until it disappeared among the stars. She was truly alone. For 3 days, Rin worked on the chains, ignoring the pain as her wrists bled. The tracking implant throbbed in her neck, a constant reminder of her betrayal. The air grew thinner each hour as the life support systems failed one by one. On the 4th day, as Rin drifted in and out of consciousness, the station's old sensors pinged weakly. Something was approaching, not a Sylvani ship. Its design was unfamiliar, blocky, and practical rather than elegant. Rin struggled to focus her eyes as the unknown vessel docked with the dying station. She heard the airlock cycle, then footsteps. A figure appeared in the doorway, standing on 2 legs instead of 4, with no scales or tail, covered in some kind of protective suit. The figure removed its helmet, revealing a face unlike any Rin had seen before. Smooth skin, strange rounded ears, and eyes filled with concern rather than fear or disgust. "Hello," the creature said, approaching cautiously. "Do you understand me? Are you okay?" Rin didn't understand the words, but she recognized compassion when she saw it. As the human knelt beside her and began working on her chains, Rin realized she might survive after all, saved by one of the very beings her people had planned to destroy. Captain Ju stared at the small blinking light on her navigation screen. The Pathfinder had been mapping this uninhabited sector for 3 weeks, and this was the first signal they detected that wasn't a natural phenomenon. "What do you think it is?" she asked, tapping the screen. Her first officer, Minho, frowned. "Hard to tell. It's weak, possibly automated. Could be an old shipping beacon or mining equipment. In this sector, there are no registered operations out here." Ju zoomed in on the signal's location. "It's coming from that small asteroid cluster. Could be salvagers who abandoned their claim," Minho suggested, "or pirates setting a trap." Ju studied the readout. The signal pattern didn't match any known distress call, but something about its irregular pulse felt deliberate, like something was failing but fighting to stay alive. "We're going to check it out," she decided. Minho's expression tightened. "Captain, we're already behind schedule on the survey. Command expects our report in 10 days. And if someone needs help," Ju raised an eyebrow, "would you leave them to die to meet a deadline?" "We don't know anyone's there," Minho argued. "It could be nothing but old equipment." "Then we lose a few hours," Ju said firmly. "Plot a course." As they approached the signal source, the ship's sensors revealed a small station attached to one of the larger asteroids. Its design was unlike anything in human records, all curved lines and what looked like crystalline materials rather than the blocky metal constructions humans favored. "Definitely not human," said Tai, the ship's engineer, studying the scans. "Power signatures are faint. Life support is barely functioning." "Any life signs?" Ju asked. Tai adjusted the sensors. "There's something. Very weak. Could be interference." "Prep the shuttle," Ju ordered. "I'm going over." "Captain," Minho protested, "regulations state that first contact with unknown structures should be handled by drone reconnaissance. If someone's dying over there, we don't have time for drones." Ju was already heading for the equipment locker. "You have command until I return." 20 minutes later, Ju guided the shuttle toward the alien station's docking port. Up close, the structure was even stranger. The material seemed to shimmer slightly, as if alive in some way. The docking mechanism was incompatible with the shuttles, so Ju had to use the emergency airlock connector. With her suit sealed and weapon ready, Ju entered the station. The gravity was slightly stronger than Earth normal, and the corridors were wider and taller than human standards. Dying emergency lights pulsed weakly along the walls, casting eerie blue shadows. She followed her scanner toward the faint life sign, moving through what appeared to be living quarters and laboratories. The station seemed designed for research rather than mining, contradicting their initial assumptions. In what appeared to be the command center, Ju found her. The alien was chained to a support column, barely conscious. Her skin was a silvery blue with intricate patterns that glowed faintly. Instead of hair, she had what looked like fine tendrils that moved slightly as if in water. Her body structure was humanoid but more slender, with extra joints in the arms and legs. Ju approached slowly, keeping her hands visible. The alien's eyes fluttered open, large amber orbs with vertical pupils that widened at the sight of her. "I'm not going to hurt you," Ju said, knowing her words wouldn't be understood but hoping her tone would. She holstered her weapon and knelt down. The alien made a soft clicking sound, then a series of whistles. Her six-fingered hand reached out weakly. Ju examined the chains. They were made of an unfamiliar metal, but the locking mechanism was simple enough. Using her multi-tool, she worked on freeing the alien. "Captain," Minho's voice came through her helmet. "What's your status?" "I found someone," Ju replied. "She's alive, but barely. And she's definitely not human. You need to quarantine until we know." "She's dying, Minho." Ju cut him off as the lock finally gave way. "Prep the medical bay. Full isolation protocols." The alien collapsed into Ju's arms as soon as the chains released. She was lighter than she looked, her body burning with fever. Up close, Ju could see wounds on her wrists and a surgical scar at the base of her skull. "Someone did this to you," Ju whispered. "Who chains up a scientist?" The equipment around them, although alien, was clearly scientific in nature. This hadn't been a criminal or prisoner. This had been someone important. Getting the alien back to the shuttle was difficult. Twice she stopped breathing, and Ju had to pause to administer emergency oxygen. By the time they reached the Pathfinder, the alien was unconscious, her luminescent markings fading. The ship's medical officer, Jin, met them at the airlock in a containment suit. His eyes widened at the sight of the alien. "What am I supposed to do with her?" he asked as they transferred her to a floating stretcher. "I don't know her biology, her blood chemistry, anything." "Figure it out," Ju ordered. "Scan her. Compare her to known species databases. Do whatever you have to do." In the isolation bay, Jin worked frantically, taking samples and running analyses, while the rest of the medical team monitored the alien's failing vital signs. "Her cellular structure is unlike anything I've seen," Jin reported after an hour. "But there are similarities to aquatic species. I think she needs more humidity." They raised the moisture levels in the isolation chamber. The alien's breathing eased slightly. "Her blood chemistry suggests she needs more copper than iron," Jin continued. "I'm adjusting the IV solution accordingly." Hour by hour, they worked, making educated guesses and careful adjustments. The alien stabilized but remained unconscious. The entire crew took turns watching the medical bay monitors, fascinated by their mysterious visitor. "The wound at her neck," Jin told Ju during the third watch. "It contains some kind of device. It's transmitting a signal." Ju's blood ran cold. "A tracking device?" "Possibly. I can't remove it without knowing more about her nervous system, but I can block it temporarily." "Do it," Ju ordered, "and increase our sensor suites. If someone's looking for her, I want to know before they find us." On the fourth day, the alien opened her eyes. Ju was sitting beside the isolation chamber, reviewing star charts. When she looked up, those amber eyes were watching her intently. The alien raised a six-fingered hand and pressed it against the clear barrier between them. After a moment's hesitation, Ju raised her own hand to match. "Welcome back," she said softly. "I'm Ju. This is my ship, the Pathfinder. You're safe now." The alien made a series of sounds, clicks and whistles, and something like singing. Ju couldn't understand the words, but the meaning was clear enough. Gratitude. What Ju couldn't note yet was that this moment would change both their worlds forever. The creature she'd saved wasn't just any alien. She was the only one who could warn humanity of the danger coming its way. Rin watched the strange creatures move around her transparent enclosure. 7 days had passed since her rescue, and her strength was slowly returning. The humans, as she had learned they were called, had been kind. They'd brought her different foods until they found what she could eat. They adjusted the air mixture and temperature to help her breathe easier. The leader, Captain Ju, visited often. She would sit near the barrier, sometimes working on a small screen, sometimes just watching Rin with curious eyes. There was no fear in those eyes, only wonder and concern. Today, Rin decided it was time to try communication. When Ju arrived for her usual visit, Rin motioned for something to write with. Ju looked confused but called another human. They returned with a tablet and stylus. Rin took it carefully and began to draw. First, she sketched the Sylvani homeworld with its twin moons. Then she drew herself, emphasizing her scientific role with symbols that represented knowledge and research in her culture. Next, she drew the Bioweapon project using universal scientific notations for DNA and cellular destruction. Ju leaned closer, her eyes narrowing as she studied the drawings. Rin could see the moment understanding began to dawn. The human called others over, and they discussed the images in their strange, flat language. Rin continued drawing. She sketched her confrontation with the council, her imprisonment, and the tracking device implanted in her neck. At this, Ju's expression hardened. She spoke urgently to the others, pointing at the drawing of the implant. A new human arrived, shorter and stockier than the others. Ju introduced him as Han, with gestures and simple words. Han studied the drawing of the tracking device, then left and returned with scanning equipment. He circled Rin's enclosure, muttering to himself. After several hours of work, Han rigged up a small device that he placed on the outside of Rin's chamber. He activated it with a proud smile. Almost immediately, the constant burning pain at the base of Rin's skull eased slightly. Ju made a cutting motion at her own neck, then pointed questioningly at Rin. She was asking if they should remove the implant. Rin shook her head and drew a new image, a crude sketch of Sylvani neural anatomy, showing how the device was entangled with her central nervous system. Removal without proper tools would kill her. The next day, Rin was allowed out of the isolation chamber. The humans had created a special room for her with higher humidity and the copper-rich atmosphere she needed. Ju brought a language program on a screen. They spent hours every day pointing at objects and saying words, slowly building a bridge between their languages. Danger, Rin said one day, one of her first human words. She pointed to the sky. Coming. Ju looked alarmed. What danger? When? Rin struggled with the limited vocabulary they shared. Bad. Weapon. Kill humans. A human female named Sun, who Rin had learned was the security officer, spoke harshly to Ju. Though Rin couldn't understand the words, the meaning was clear. Sun didn't trust her. Ju silenced Sun with a raised hand and turned back to Rin. Who? Who wants to kill humans? Sylvani leaders. Not all. Some. Rin pointed to herself. I scientist. I learn truth. They punish me. Over the next week, as Rin's grasp of human language improved through the intensive teaching program, she was able to explain more. The crew gathered in the meeting room, where Rin carefully told her story. My people believe they are superior, she explained slowly. High Council plans to eliminate competition. Humans, Nari, Felox, Duran, all developing species, all threats. How? Asked Minnow, the first officer who still watched her with suspicious eyes. Bioweapon. Targets genetic markers, kills these species only. Rin drew the molecular structure on a screen. Spreads through air, water. No cure. Why should we believe you? Sun demanded. This could be a trick to make us attack the Sylvani first. No trick, Rin said firmly. I scientist. I see plans. I try to stop. She touched the back of her neck where the implants sat. Left me to die. Ju studied Rin's face for a long moment. Something passed between them. An understanding that transcended their different biologies. If what you're saying is true, Ju said slowly, we need proof. Something to show Earth Command. Yes, Rin agreed. Proof in research station. Data crystals. But dangerous. Sylvani ships patrol. The crew erupted in debate. Some, like Sun and Minho, argued it was too risky to trust Rin. Others, like Han and Jin, believed her story. Quiet, Ju finally commanded. The room fell silent. If Rin is telling the truth, billions of lives are at stake. We need that proof. And if she's lying? Sun challenged. If she leads us into a trap? Rin stood up, her luminescent markings pulsing with emotion. Not trap. Truth. She looked at each crew member in turn. Your people saved me. I save your people now. That night, as the ship hummed quietly around them, Ju visited Rin in her quarters. They sat in comfortable silence before Ju finally spoke. Some of my crew think I'm a fool to trust you, she admitted. Rin nodded. Understandable. Our peoples never met before. Why did you try to stop the weapon? Ju asked. Why risk your life for species you've never even met? Rin considered this. Life is life, she said simply. All thinking beings deserve to exist, to choose their path. She paused, searching for the right words. My people lost their way. Forgot that greatness comes from helping others grow, not destroying them. Ju smiled slightly. On Earth, we have a saying. The true measure of any society can be found in how it treats its most vulnerable members. Wise words, Rin agreed. On Sylvan Prime, we say, knowledge without compassion is the deadliest poison. She looked down at her six-fingered hands. I failed to see the poison spreading among my people until it was almost too late. It's not too late yet, Ju said firmly. We'll get your proof. We'll warn Earth. We'll stop this. Rin felt a strange warmth in her chest. Hope, perhaps. Something she hadn't felt since discovering the truth about the bioweapon. The next morning, Captain Ju called the crew together. Her decision was made. Set course for the Sylvani research outpost, she ordered. We're going to get the proof we need. As the ship changed direction, heading toward Sylvani space, Rin watched the stars shift on the viewing screen. Somewhere out there was the evidence that could save billions of lives, and perhaps redeem her people from the terrible path they had chosen. Han approached her with a small device. I've improved the signal blocker, he explained, attaching it to her neck near the implant. This should keep us hidden longer. Thank you, Rin said sincerely. Don't thank me yet, Han replied with a grim smile. We still have to get in and out of that research station alive. As the Pathfinder accelerated toward its dangerous destination, Rin felt the weight of entire worlds on her shoulders. She had to succeed. The alternative was unthinkable. The Pathfinder drifted silently between the asteroids surrounding the Sylvani research outpost. Captain Ju had ordered all non-essential systems shut down to minimize their energy signature. The ship's hull had been coated with a special material Han had created to absorb scanner pulses rather than reflect them. On the bridge, Ju studied the outpost through the view screen. Unlike the abandoned mining platform where they had found Rin, this facility was fully operational. Soft blue lights outlined its elegant curves, and small transport vessels moved to and from its docking bays. There are 3 guard rotations, Rin explained, pointing to the screen. The weakest security is during third shift when most scientists sleep. Her finger traced a path along the station's lower section. This service entrance is used for supply deliveries. The codes change weekly, but I know the pattern. You're sure the evidence is still there? Minho asked, his voice heavy with doubt. Rin nodded. Research data is kept for a minimum of 7 cycles. It's been only 2 since I was removed. Ju turned to her crew. Han, is the shuttle ready? Yes, Captain. I've modified it to mimic a Sylvani maintenance vessel. From a distance, it should fool their scanners. Son, you'll coordinate from here. If we're not back in 3 hours, we'll come get you. Sun interrupted. Ju shook her head firmly. No, if we're not back, you take the Pathfinder and warn Earth. That's an order. The shuttle bay was quiet as Ju and Rin prepared to leave. They wore modified environmental suits designed to shield their life signs from Sylvani bioscanners. Rin looked strange in the human design gear, her slender limbs and extra joints making the suit bunch oddly in places. You don't have to come, Rin said softly. I could go alone and leave you to face your people without backup. Ju checked her weapon. Not a chance. The shuttle detached from the Pathfinder and moved slowly toward the research station. Han's modifications worked perfectly. They were logged in the station's system as a routine maintenance check without raising any alarms. Once docked, Rin led the way through narrow service corridors. The station's gravity was stronger than on the Pathfinder, and Ju found herself struggling slightly with each step. The air, even filtered through her suit, smelled like something between cinnamon and ozone. The main data core is 2 levels down, Rin whispered, her luminescent markings dimmed to near invisibility. We need to access Terminal 7. They moved carefully, freezing in place whenever a Sylvani passed nearby. The aliens were taller than Rin had appeared when they first found her, most standing over 7 feet tall with the same silvery blue skin and moving tendrils instead of hair. Their eyes glowed softly in the dim light. After 20 tense minutes, they reached the data core, a massive crystalline structure that pulsed with light. Rin moved to Terminal 7 and placed her 6-fingered hand on the access panel. Will your code still work? Ju asked anxiously. No, Rin admitted, but I know an override meant for emergencies. Her fingers danced across the alien interface. The screen flickered several times before turning green with acceptance. Rin quickly located the bioweapon files and copied them to the specialized data Crystal Han had provided. We need to hurry, she said, her voice tight. The override will trigger a security alert after. A harsh alarm cut through the air. Red lights pulsed along the walls. After 8 minutes, Rin finished grimly. We need to go. Now, they ran back the way they had come, but at an intersection of corridors, they found their path blocked by 2 Sylvani security officers. Without hesitation, Ju fired her stun weapon. The first guard dropped, but the second called for backup before Rin managed to knock him unconscious with a panel torn from the wall. This way, Rin pulled Ju down a different corridor, alternative route to the docking bay. As they rounded a corner, they came face to face with a tall, distinguished-looking Sylvani in elaborate robes. His tendrils were longer than the others, bound with decorative metals that clinked softly as he moved. Rin froze. Da. Ju recognized the name immediately. This was the one who had betrayed Rin, who had sentenced her to die alone on that abandoned station. Rin, Da said, his voice surprisingly melodic. The tracking implant showed you were dead. Yet here you are, with a... He examined Ju with curious eyes. Human. How interesting. We're leaving, Rin said coldly. Step aside. Day smiled, revealing teeth that seemed to shimmer like opals. I'm afraid I can't do that. The High Council was most displeased when your signal disappeared. They'll be delighted to have you back. We have new experiments that require test subjects. She's not going anywhere with you. Ju raised her weapon. Day moved with shocking speed, drawing his own weapon and firing in one fluid motion. Ju didn't even have time to react before Rin shoved her aside, taking the full blast to her shoulder. She fell with a pained cry. Without thinking, Ju fired 3 rapid shots. The first 2 missed, but the third caught Da in the leg. He stumbled, giving them precious seconds. Ju grabbed Rin and pulled her toward the docking bay, firing backward to keep Da at bay. Why did you do that? Ju demanded as they ran. He aimed. "For your head," Rin gasped, clutching her wounded shoulder. Sylvani weapons, designed to disintegrate human brain tissue. They reached the shuttle just as more security forces appeared. Ju practically threw Rin inside before jumping in herself and sealing the door. Laser fire peppered the hull as she fired up the engines. "Pathfinder, this is Ju," she called over the comm. "We've got the data, but we're taking fire. Rin is hurt. Prepare for emergency retrieval." The shuttle broke free from the docking clamps with a violent jerk. Alarms blared as the station's defense systems locked onto them. Ju piloted wildly, using the asteroids as cover while they raced back to the Pathfinder. As they approached their ship, Ju saw 3 Sylvani pursuit vessels launching from the research station. "Minho," she shouted into the comm. "We've got company. Start the jump calculations." The shuttle slipped into the Pathfinder's bay, crashing into the safety barriers as Ju cut the engines too quickly. The larger ship was already moving, accelerating away from the station. Ju carried the injured Rin to the medical bay where Jin waited. "How bad is it?" Ju asked as Jin examined the wound. "The weapon cauterized as it cut," Jin reported. "Strange technology. She's lost blood, but she'll live." Rin gripped Ju's hand weakly. "The data." Ju held up the crystal. "We got it. All the proof we need." The ship lurched violently. Sun's voice came over the intercom. "Captain, to the bridge. Sylvani ships are in range." On the bridge, chaos reigned. The view screen showed the 3 Sylvani vessels closing fast, their weapons charging. "Jump drive status," Ju demanded. "Calculations complete," Minho reported. "But they'll be in firing range before we can activate. Shields to maximum. Evasive pattern delta." The Pathfinder shuddered as the first Sylvani shots struck their shields. Han called up from engineering. "Captain, shields at 60%. We can't take much more." "Jump drive ready," Minho announced. Another hit rocked the ship. Warning lights flashed across every console. "Hull breach on deck 3. Sun shouted. "Sealing now." "Jump," Ju ordered. The stars stretched into lines as the Pathfinder leaked into faster-than-light travel. The ship groaned around them, systems straining under the hasty jump. As the blur of hyperspace surrounded them, Ju held tight to her chair and thought of the data crystal now secured in the ship's safe. They'd made it. They had the proof. Now they just needed to reach Earth in time to warn humanity of what was coming. In the medical bay, Rin watched the ceiling lights flicker as the ship stabilized in FTL. For the first time since discovering the terrible truth about her people's plans, she allowed herself to feel something close to peace. Whatever happened next, she had done all she could to save billions of innocent lives. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, a human had risked everything to help her. Earth loomed large in the view screen as the damaged Pathfinder limped into orbit. Emergency repair crews had worked nonstop during the journey, but the ship still showed ugly scars from the Sylvani weapons fire. Captain Ju stood on the bridge, watching as a fleet of Earth Defense Force vessels surrounded them. "Captain Ju," a stern voice came over the communication system. "This is Admiral Park of Earth Defense Command. You are ordered to maintain position and prepare for boarding. Your passenger will be taken into custody." Ju exchanged glances with Minho. "Admiral, with all due respect, we have urgent information about a threat to Earth. And our passenger is not a threat. She risked her life to bring us this warning." "That will be determined by Defense Council interrogators," Park replied coldly. "Prepare for boarding." When the Defense Force security team entered the Pathfinder, Ju was waiting for them outside the medical bay where Rin was recovering. The alien scientist sat upright on her bed, her silver-blue skin paler than usual but her amber eyes clear and unafraid. "Captain Ju, step aside," ordered the security team leader. "No." Ju crossed her arms. "Rin is under my protection. She gets proper medical treatment and a fair hearing, not an interrogation. Those aren't our orders." "Then your orders are wrong." Ju held up the data crystal. This contains proof of a bioweapon designed to wipe out humanity. Rin stole it to warn us, and was shot protecting my life. You want this information? Then Rin comes with me to the Defense Council as a guest, not a prisoner. After tense radio communications with their superiors, the security team reluctantly agreed. 6 hours later, Ju and Rin stood before the Earth Defense Council, 12 grim-faced leaders representing Earth's major regions. Rin looked small and strange among the humans, but she held herself with dignity despite her bandaged shoulder. Using the translator Han had built for her, she told her story clearly and directly. The data we brought proves everything, she concluded. The High Council plans to release the bioweapon within 1 Earth year, but not all Sylvani support this. Many scientists, philosophers, and ordinary citizens would be horrified if they knew. A council member leaned forward. Why should we believe you? This could be an elaborate deception to weaken our defenses. Ju stepped forward. Counselor, with respect, why would she nearly die bringing us this warning if it were a trick? The Sylvani don't even know we detected their plans. They could have attacked without warning. Another counselor spoke up. The data shows the weapon targets our specific genetic markers. This isn't something she could fabricate. What do you suggest we do? Asked the council president. Launch a preemptive strike. No. Rin's translator couldn't fully capture her horror at the suggestion. That would only confirm the High Council's claim that humans are dangerous. There is another way. She explained that the Sylvani had a tradition called the Truth Forum, a public hearing where any citizen could present evidence of government wrongdoing. It was rarely used, but deeply respected in their culture. If I could present this evidence to the Truth Forum, with human representatives present, many Sylvani would stand against the High Council, Rin said. My people are not evil. They've been missiled by leaders who fear what they don't understand. The Defense Council debated through the night. In the end, they agreed to a bold plan. Earth would develop countermeasures against the bioweapon, while simultaneously opening diplomatic channels with Sylvani moderates identified in Rin's data. Rin was granted asylum and joined a special research team. Her knowledge of Sylvani biology proved invaluable as they created vaccines against the bioweapon. Captain Ju, recognized for her courage, was promoted and assigned as Earth's primary liaison with Rin. 3 months later, something remarkable happened. A Sylvani science vessel entered Earth's solar system under a flag of truce. Its captain was Naima, Rin's former research assistant who had secretly opposed the bioweapon program. Your message reached us, Naima told Rin during their emotional reunion. Many scientists have gone into hiding with copies of your data. The Truth Forum has been convened. The Galactic Assembly, a loose coalition of spacefaring species, agreed to host the Truth Forum on neutral territory. Representatives from Earth, including Ju and Rin, traveled to the Assembly's space station to present their case. The Great Hall was filled with beings from a dozen worlds when Rin stepped forward to testify. Her voice shook at first, but grew stronger as she presented the evidence against the High Council. The true measure of advancement is not domination, she said, but cooperation. Not destruction, but creation. The High Council betrayed not just humanity and other developing species, they betrayed the true spirit of Sylvani culture. From the back of the hall came shouts of protest as High Counselor Taein Da, now walking with a mechanical aid, tried to interrupt. But the evidence was too strong to deny. When recordings of Da's own words about the necessary elimination of humans were played, many Sylvani in the audience turned away in disgust. The Assembly's final ruling was unprecedented. The High Council was removed from power, to be replaced by elected representatives from all Sylvani regions. The bioweapon program was dismantled under international supervision, and for the first time, Earth was invited to join the Galactic Assembly as a probationary member. 1 year later, Rin and Ju stood together on an observation deck overlooking Earth. A small Sylvani delegation had just arrived to establish their first official embassy. Did you ever imagine this outcome when you found me chained in that station? Rin asked softly. Ju smiled. Honestly, I was just hoping we'd both survive the week. Your compassion changed everything, Rin said. One decision to investigate a strange signal. One choice to help instead of fear the unknown. Speaking of strange signals, Ju pulled out her tablet. Have you seen this? Our story is everywhere on the interstellar networks, especially on Galactic Reddit. Rin looked at the screen with amusement. The top trending post was titled, "She is chained and left for dead by her own kind, but a human saves her." The comment section was filled with messages of hope from beings across the galaxy. They're calling us symbols of interspecies cooperation, Ju laughed. There's even talk of making a holodrama about it. How embarrassing, Rin said, but her luminescent markings pulsed with pleasure. A notification appeared on Ju's tablet. She was being offered command of Earth's first joint species exploration vessel. The crew would include both humans and Sylvani. They want an answer soon, Ju said. I was hoping my science officer might help me decide. Rin looked surprised. Science officer, if you're interested. Ju looked out at the stars. There's still a lot of galaxy to explore, and I can't think of anyone I'd rather have by my side. Rin's amber eyes reflected the starlight. From prisoner to science officer. Quite a journey. The best journeys are the unexpected ones, Ju replied. As they stood together, a human and a Sylvani united by chance and choice, their story continued to spread across the digital networks of a dozen worlds. It wasn't just a tale of adventure or danger overcome. It was a reminder that even in the vast coldness of space, compassion could bridge the stars and change the course of history. Retriclaude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.